Finding Hope, the Road to Recovery.
Welcome, everyone. Finding Hope Road to Recovery is an ongoing collaboration between Ayeneh and Tarzana Treatment Centers. My name is Amy Baez, Program Operations Supervisors in the Outpatient Department. And on today's episode, we will be talking about a patient's journey into recovery. Joining us today is Mia Montoya. She is an patient alumni at Tarzana Treatment Centers. Mia, welcome.
Thank you, Amy. It's an honor to be part of this. It's one of those things where like you get asked and you're always told to say yes, but this one didn't feel like I wanted to say yes.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like I had to say yes. Okay. I wanted to say yes.
Of course.
Yeah. My name is Mia. Yeah.
Mia, thank you. And I think we just want to start it off, and if you're okay with it, if we can start off by sharing a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background.
Okay, so well, I grew up in Mexico. I ended up my journey in recovery started at a very young age. I was introduced to cocaine and alcohol when I was 8. I've struggled with alcohol addiction, meth addiction, and yeah, that's been basically my background.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that with us. A lot of our clients can relate, and I think having you here showcasing how your journey throughout our program has benefited your life. We would love to continue hearing about that. Can you share a little bit, what was life like before you began your recovery journey?
Well, like I said, I mentioned I started at a very young age. When I was 8, my uncle abused me. Was abusing me. And he was an addict as well. So in his addict mentality, he had this thought that by giving the kid cocaine, it would be better for the kid. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So that's how young my addiction started with my introduction to drugs.
Introduction to substances.
Yeah. And thereafter, this went on for like about 8 months. After that, it was when my parents separated, I stayed with my family. That's how I ended up in that situation.
Yeah.
After a year, my mom was able to pick me up from that house, and I was actually no longer contacting that uncle, or I was never in contact with that uncle anymore.
Of course.
But the damage was already done.
Absolutely.
I ended up as Mexicans, as you would know, Mexicans have a lot of large families, and they always have gatherings. It's either that there's a baptism, there's a birthday, there's something, and it's always an excuse for Mexicans to drink. So as a kid, I found it very easy, and alcohol was I had access to alcohol very easily.
Yeah.
And it was like a thing where like I didn't drink because I liked the feeling of it.
Yeah.
I was drinking to cope with the
pain that you had experienced.
Yeah, what had happened to me.
Absolutely.
Essentially, it was one of those things. So for most of my teenage years, I would drink, and it was like those things where like the parties went up so late that finding a kid that was passed out wasn't necessarily result of this kid has been drinking. It was more like, oh, our party went out so long.
It's not an abnormal thing, especially. And one of the things that we need to realize as well is that culture plays a lot into substance, right? And especially like you stated, in the Mexican culture, it is very normalized.
Yeah.
Even alcohol use from a very young age, it's very normalized, right? So oftentimes they don't even recognize what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But so it went really undetected for the most part. I think I was until like when I was 14, the first time when my mom first found out that I was drinking. Yeah. And that was the first time where I actually spoke about what had happened to me, and it was in a very harsh way, because it's like I was drunk, and my mom I was like reprimanding me for drinking, obviously, and my response to that as a drunken child was it's like, where were you when I was being molested? And that's one of those things that I do regret, like the way that I brought it up.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I could have done it better, but as a kid, you'd never know.
Absolutely.
First of all, and second of all, it's one of those things where like my uncle raised me to believe, or groomed me to believe that what had happened to me was my fault, and that if I told my mom would disown me. And it's one of those things where like I love my mom so much that I would never do anything to hurt her,
yeah.
right? So for so many years, I kept that quiet. I think it was one of those things where like I didn't know it better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you have to recognize as well, and thank you for sharing that very intimate part of your life, with us, because it's very common in a lot of cultures, right? Where we're exposed to substance use at a very young age, and we're exposed to traumatic events in our life, right? And we have to remember one thing, Mia, is that we're children, right?
Yeah.
And so give yourself a little more.
No, I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. But thank you for sharing that. It's so important, and it's so real in our everyday with a lot of other people that experience substance use or alcohol use.
Yeah, and everything after that was like 22 is when I was introduced to meth.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where like, well, I was introduced to meth and I no longer had the need to drink anymore because it was like meth was more it helped with the numbing more. Absolutely. It was easier for me to look the other way.
Yeah.
And it was easier for me to not have to handle it, the pain and the emotion. Yeah. Because I wasn't really feeling it. It was like it was one of those things that yeah.
And how did you get started on your road to meth use?
It was one of those things where like I tried it by accident.
Okay.
It wasn't. I thought it was Coke. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was one of those things where like somebody offered me a white substance that I was familiar with, and I was just like, well, yeah. Okay. And then I tried it, and the back of my head caught on fire, and I was just like, okay. But I knew the second that I was introduced to that, there was going to be a problem.
Got it.
Because it was one of those things where like I liked the feeling of it, and I also liked the not feeling of it.
The numbing of it, right?
The numbing of the mentality.
Of course, you don't have to worry about what's going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And were there any challenges or circumstances that contributed to your substance abuse? I know you mentioned, obviously, the traumatic history as well. But as you're developing into an adult, is there any other circumstances that continued your ongoing path to substance use?
I think it was one of those things where I took advantage of like what the gateway that meth opens, because meth will enable you to be jumping from house to house without having to worry about having a job, having to worry about coming up with money. I mean, you have to worry about money but it was one of those things where like once I started doing meth, my whole life the responsibility aspect of my life went on pause.
Okay.
And it's a thing where like you start doing math and you don't realize how fast time is. You don't realize that time's still going by.
Yeah.
You're oblivious of how much like life keeps going.
Yes.
And before I knew it, it was 12 years later.
Yeah. Absolutely. What was your wake-up call during that time that kind of made you realize 12 years had passed?
It was the fact that I experienced so many crazy things in my meth addiction, but I remember one of the things that happened was like I was attacked by a friend with a machete. So I have a big scar here, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And it was one of those things where like when he attacked me, I was brought here illegally, right?
Yeah.
So it enabled me to it gave me the possibility to have a visa.
Okay.
And even then, having that opportunity, like my mentality was in a place where like all that matters to me is doing math right now.
Yes.
And unfortunately, because of that, it took a while for me to realize that I have done none of the process that I need to do in order for me to have a better quality of life, meaning having a legal status.
Yeah.
And it's those things where like I feel like you start to forget what matters because you're so busy occupied into having to figure out how you're going to get your next dose or where you're going to stay the next night.
Absolutely. And do you feel like at that point in time after your accident with the machete, do you feel like that was kind of like a red flag for you to seek treatment, or were you still in continuance of that?
It didn't really matter. To me, it was like once I got attacked, I went in the hospital and I was urging to leave the hospital to go get high again. That's one of those things where like where were my priorities, right?
Yeah.
What prompted me to reach treatment was actually my stepdad.
Really? Okay. Please tell us.
Because after a while, like I started from living in hotel rooms and I would sell drugs and I would afford a lifestyle that I thought it was comfortable.
Yeah.
Because I was in like expensive hotels.
Of course.
And then went from expensive hotels to like starting hanging out with people that have places because I couldn't afford the hotels anymore.
Yes.
And then it's always a decline. There's never like you start. Sometimes you start good and you think that
you're gonna stay there, right?
And it never happens. It's one of those things that never happens. It never stays.
Yeah.
So I went from living in people's places, and it went eventually back to like to the point where like I had to move back in with my parents.
Okay.
But my parents were completely oblivious of my usage, right?
Okay. So nobody had any clue or indication that you were.
And that's the thing. Like, I stayed absent from my family for so long that they didn't have the chance to realize that I was going through addiction and that I was going through a bad addiction on top of that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I moved in with my parents then, and I think I moved in for 1 year and I brought people over, and then people were getting stolen by other people. So I had to leave. And then my mom gave me a second opportunity like a couple years later. And she said they had to set up a camera inside the house to make sure that I wasn't bringing people over.
Of course, yeah.
But then my stepdad noticed that it was one of those things just like, well, why are you in the bathroom for several hours of the day?
Yeah.
And why is it that you time it to where like when we're about to come home, you leave?
Of course.
And it was like, obviously, it was like me calculating, like, oh, I'm going to be doing drugs. And I can't do drugs inside the living room. So I'd be in the bathroom stuck.
Yeah.
And then I would leave just right before they would come. So they would miss me. And I would be able to, and in the meantime, I was in the bathroom either trying to figure out where I was going to go or who I was going to hang out. Yeah. And ultimately, that led to me like not living. I mean, I stayed at my mom's house, but I would go and hang out with people in tents.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the things that I always bring when I share at meetings is like I remember distinctly being on the streets with a homeless guy, who had a tarp. He didn't even have a tent. He had a tarp, right? Yeah. And I'm wearing high heels. I'm wearing dress. I'm all like dressed nice. Absolutely. And I have my purse. And then he's like, "Oh, honey, you can put your purse in the living room." And I look around and I was like, "You don't even have a tent." And that's like the type of mentality that we get when we're like, he's like living in the living room. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you might be on prime real estate because you're on Lancashire Boulevard, but you're still on a tarp, not even a tent.
But I don't think sometimes you realize that, they have no realization of where substances or alcohol even takes you and how far it takes you, right? But at that point, it was something that obviously impacted your thought process, right?
So it was at that moment where I was like, so eventually my stepdad, like once he confronted me about it, he's like, okay, I know what you're doing in the bathroom because it's not normal. It's like, it's the same routine every day. You wake up, you go inside the bathroom for hours and then you leave. So you need to seek treatment.
Yeah.
And that's when it was like the intervention that I needed.
That you needed, okay.
And it's like, I feel like it could have happened a lot sooner had I been more present in my family's life.
Absolutely.
But since it was like things were like I would just show up for family gatherings and I'd be there like for 5 minutes. Yeah. It was one of those things where like no one really noticed. Yeah. It wasn't until like they had me living there and they had me on surveillance that they noticed like, okay, there's something wrong. You need help.
Absolutely. And how great did you feel that you received that support from your stepfather?
It was one of those things that surprised me.
Okay.
Because my mom has always supported me through thick and thin. Yeah. He has been he's been a loving husband. He's been a father figure to my sisters because he's not my father, but I have other sisters. Of course. And he's been very respectful of me as when I grew up growing as a gay man and then as a transgender person, he's been very respectful. Yeah. But there's always been that distance, right? So when he came up to me and he showed me that when he came up to me, he's like, you need to fix this. It showed me that there was more than just like that. Oh, you're my wife's kid.
Of course.
You're actually somebody I care for. Absolutely. And I don't want to see you go through this.
Yeah. And that's amazing to hear because oftentimes there's a lot of people who don't receive any support from family or friends. And it takes them a longer time sometimes to really get connected to anybody and get connected to services.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that you had that
Yeah,
someone to guide you through, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. And then how did you first hear about Tarzana Treatment Centers?
Well, when I went into first treatment, I went to a different program. I went to Cry Help.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Cry Help was like the first place where I went to rehab that I had no idea I had no idea what to expect from rehab.
Yeah.
The only reference that I had was celebrity rehab.
Celebrity rehab, yeah.
So I was like obviously very distant from what the truth from what it was.
What is it? The beach frontiers and everything, right?
So and I was like expecting cameras to be around and people be following me around,
Of course,
and it's like all the production. It's not. That's not what it is. Trust me. Rehab is not a place. It's not a luxury place, but it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
It's one of the. So when I went in there, I didn't really care much for the program, but in my addiction also I contracted HIV.
Okay.
And when I was at Cry Help did mention that Tarzana Treatment Center had a program for people who were positive and that they would help with there was a lot of resources that they could help with.
Absolutely.
I completed Cry Help and I went into their RBH and then I relapsed, right?
Yeah.
So I went back again.
Yeah.
And I think I went back to Cry Help 2 more times. So there's relapse in my story. Another thing about my stepdad is like he actually helped my mom understand what relapse is. My mom had this concept of like thinking that just because you complete treatment, it's one of those things where like, oh, you're cured. And it was very surprising that my stepdad was like, no, this is the journey that you have to go through, and sometimes you will have trials and tribulations. And
absolutely.
And he did help my mom with that. But yeah, so after the 3rd time at Cry Help, I didn't complete Cry Help the 3rd time. I was discharged for I had a conflict with another patient, and they discharged both of us.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go back to I didn't want to go back to addiction, and I knew that going back to my parents' house was already like a very it was going to be difficult because of all the relapses and all the I mean, my stepdad did say like to a certain point it's like, okay, we can only help you so much.
Absolutely. Putting boundaries in.
Yeah.
Right?
So and I had to respect those boundaries. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I knew I wanted to do something that was recovery related.
Yeah.
So I reached out to one of the program managers at Central, Leslie.
Okay.
And I told her I need housing.
Yes.
And she said like, well, there's no houses available right now. I mean, there's no beds available. But if you do outpatient for 90 days, hopefully in that time we can get you into the program THP.
Program. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then
just so you know, sorry to interrupt, THP is our transitional housing program. And please go ahead.
So I did 2 months, and then basically I had Leslie asked me for 3 months to do outpatient. My dad gave me 2 months to find a place to go.
Okay.
So the last once I got to the deadline that my stepdad gave me, I was just like I gave up. I was like, okay, I'm trying my best as I can. I relapsed again. Yeah. And I think it was a relapse where like, I think I relapsed because I knew that if I used, then I would have a place to go. And I went into Tarzana Treatment Center residential. I don't recommend, if you're struggling, I don't recommend to relapse ever. It's not one of those things where I do, I want, relapse is never an option.
Absolutely. It's never the answer. Right?
It's never the answer. It's always an option, but it's never the answer.
Absolutely.
And it's something that nothing comes. Once you have recovery in your once you get some sense of recovery embedded in your head, it's every time you relapse, it's just withholding. It's one of those things where like you don't enjoy it anymore because you know what's out there, how much life is better when you're sober.
Absolutely. And I think it's so pivotal what you're sharing, and thank you so much for sharing that first part of everything, because it just really comes together of like our experiences and how it contributes to where we go, right? And sometimes the people and the places that really get us to where we need to be. So it's incredible that you've been able to really start that journey and really continue it with us. Whether it was how you chose to do it, somehow that led to the connection where you continued on with other resources within our organization, right? Part of that first segment that we have, we're going to be going into a short little break, and we will be back for our part 2 segment. Thank you, Mia, so much for just being part of Tarzana Treatment Centers, and we loved hearing about your journey into treatment, and we will continue as when we get back.
Of course.
Welcome back, everyone, to segment 2, part of our A Patient's Road to Recovery, here with Mia Montoya. And Mia, I know that in the first segment, one of the things that you had shared with us, and we appreciate you sharing with us because it does affect a lot of people in our world, is that you shared that you were trans women living with HIV. Would you like to share more on that?
Of course, yeah. No, it's totally fine. Yeah. I think the aspect of being trans woman, it's sometimes we get boxed down to it's a running joke that they say transgender women can either be prostitutes or drug dealers, and I would like to say that it's not. There's more things that we can do out there, but yeah, and then the HIV part is like I did contract HIV before I was before I transitioned.
Of course.
But I feel like it would have happened either. It could have, in my addiction, it could have happened either way because there's another aspect that goes with transitioning, which is like the attention that we get as transgender women.
Yes.
Shifts from like being an invisible person that doesn't have any confidence with themselves to having the attention the attention from fetish people. We get fetishized a lot.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things where like we become the fetish of like every man, and then it's like it's you get attention, but not necessarily the best attention.
Absolutely.
And not for the right reasons. And I feel like there's a difference between that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that part of your life, because especially in our LGBT community, right? There is a lot of trans women, and oftentimes we do hear that we collaborate with the Trans Latina Coalition, and we hear about other trans women's stories. And one of the big things is the fetish part of it and how they are put into this box. And really, it's very hard to come out of that box and be their own personalities and be their authentic selves without people putting you in a box. So thank you for sharing that. That's definitely something that can resonate with a lot of our clients here.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned that you were HIV positive, right? How did the connection come with Tarzana Treatment Centers and our specialty HIV clinic here at Tarzana?
How did the connection come? It was again through it was a recommendation from Cry Help.
Cry Help, okay.
It was one of those things where like it was information that was given to me that was very gratifying to know that there's a place where you can go and actually receive the care that and it's specialized in the care that you need as an LGBT community. I feel like you guys are very attentive with making sure that we're on top of our medications, that we are on top of like anything that we need to do mental health, because it's like as addicts and especially in general people would need I think therapy in general, but the fact that you implement and it's something that you actually are looking for in one of the patients, it's something that it makes me feel comfortable. It made me feel comfortable being part of the family at Tarzana Treatment Center, because I do consider people family there.
Absolutely, yeah. And you touched on one thing. Tarzana Treatment Center is one of the things that why I love working at Tarzana is that the integrated healthcare that we have. It's kind of like one box for all. Like we have our mental health, We have our clinics here, specialty clinics. We offer PrEP, we offer PEP, we offer all these great services, psychiatric help, mat services. We have Vivitrol, buprenorphine, Suboxone. So we really cater to all, and it really allows everybody to feel supported while they're at Tarzana, but also provide the service that is effective. So you don't have to be going to different locations. You can be connected all, and that's one of the things that I do see such a convenience for our clients, but also it allows them to really continue their care and know that everybody is in one house knowing how to treat them and better treat them, right, in their journey with us. How has Tarzana helped you build your support network at the moment?
I honestly, I've always been a loving and caring person, regardless of your gender.
Yes.
But another thing that happens in the transgender community is like I feel like I've experienced like there's this sense of competition of like I have to be the prettiest, or I have to be the this, or I have to be the that. And I feel like the fact that I was moved into a house with a bunch of beautiful women, it helped me bring in close to. I have close friends that are transgender women.
Yes.
I have people in my support system that are transgender women. I also have I had like this shift, but from like one of those things where the shift goes between like there's also like the discrepancy of like, well, once you're transgender, the gays don't really care much for you. And then you feel like very abandoned. And it was one of those things where like my biggest fear was having to figure out how am I gonna have friends? Because all my life, all I've had are gay friends, and now all the gay friends that I hang around me, they don't want to be around me because they really don't care much for girls.
Absolutely.
And
the sense of belonging, right?
Yeah, there's a definitely, as humans, we have this need of connection.
Of course, yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the things that being at Tarzana Treatment Center, it brought me that.
Yeah.
It brought me the sense of connection. I have good friends that are gay, good friends that are. I have one of my roommate. She ended up becoming a really close friend to me. We go to meetings together. We do a lot of things together, and it's one of those things where like we knew each other from like being in treatment before.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where like we didn't talk much.
Okay.
And because of that, when I went into the house, I felt like there was going to be like, oh, well, I don't know how we're going to mesh. And to honestly, it's one of those things where like, I couldn't have asked for a better roommate. I couldn't have asked for a better friend. Yeah. And it's like, it's one of those people that I can call and she'll help me out with whatever she can. And it's the same thing. She'll call me and I will do anything that I can, anything that's within my power. And that's one of those things that Tarzana, being in one of the houses at Tarzana, it does help with that sense of connection.
It also helps build your social network of where you know who to call if you're going through something, who can help you process something. It's really important to have that social network within your vicinity, right? Quick question. I know that one of the things, how do you feel that Tarzana Treatment Centers has contributed to managing your HIV care? Biomedically speaking, with your medication, with anything?
I think it's one of those things where I believe that my primary care is on a separate site.
Okay.
But I believe that you guys have your own.
We do.
Your medicals, and I feel like I know that you guys are constantly on top of like making sure that everybody's like on their meds, and they're always making sure that you have your appointments, and the thing that helped me out, because I did have a few therapy sessions, and the thing that helped me out a lot is that you guys are also on top of like reminding us, like, hey, sending us reminders, either via text, either via phone call, via whatever. It's one of those things where like they're on top of things to help you make sure that you're on top of your medical need.
And how do you see Tarzana Treatment Centers supporting you reaching any goals you might have for yourself?
Can I mention WHIP?
Yeah, please.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
of
there's
course.
there's a program at Tarzana. It's called the WHIP program. It's not whip as in
So
whipping.
whole
It's
health
it's a whole health
integrated.
integrated program.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those. It's an 8-week program, I believe, and in those 8 weeks, they help you set up a goal, and then again, they're on top of like they give you you have one-on-one meetings every week to help you to assess where are you in your goal, and helps you like structure a goal where it's like
Yeah.
it's achievable
Yes.
and that can be measurable, right?
Yes.
And it's one of those things where like before that I used to think like, well, why am I gonna set goals if I have like no aspirations, right?
Yeah.
And it helped me build that trust of like, well, maybe I can accomplish like even if it's one thing. Like my main goal was to just get a driver's license because I wanted to be more of service.
Yeah.
And now I pick up people anytime that I have any of the patients from Tarzana, I'm able to pick them up and take them to meetings, and that's my way of giving back to this program that has given me so much.
Absolutely. And our WHIP program is a SAMHSA funded program that focuses on mental health and helping our clients reach any of their goals that they might have, whether it be related to mental health, whether it be related to substance use. It's a really great program that we do have. And they really do help focus on the main goal and look at the client for where they're at and help them get to where they need to be. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
At the moment, like when you were or when you're receiving mental health services and everything, did you feel the support that you were getting as well?
I felt very understood.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where like I feel like the connection that I built with the therapist that I had we were so compatible that it didn't really feel like there was never a daunting moment where like I said like, oh, I don't want to go to therapy today. It was more like I would look forward to to going to therapy because of the type of connection that you can build with the therapists that they have on site. I feel like it's one of those things where like they care.
Yeah.
And even as they have, even though there's a thing where like you have to be socially distant, professionally distant.
Yes.
There's still that sense of like we do care about you.
Yeah.
We don't see you as one more number in our checklist. It's just like you are a human person and you have feelings and you are valid, and that's something that always portrays with any of the staff members at Tarzana.
Yeah, I love hearing that. If you had one message to give any client who was hesitant about going into mental health or seeking mental health services, what do you feel like would be a good piece of information for them to know?
Honestly, the most important thing about going to therapy is it's the fact that they have patient patient doctor
Confidentiality. Yeah.
It's one of those things where like you can be completely honest, and you don't have to fear of like what they're gonna think of you, because as professionals, it's not for them to think. It's not up to them. It's not their job to think anything about you. It's more to help you, guide you, and navigate through whatever your struggle is. And it's like the way that I see it is like if you go to the doctor because you have any kind of ache, but you don't tell them that you maybe ran before or like you hit your back or whatever. If you start withholding information from the doctor, that doctor's not gonna be able to help you in the proper way or give you the type of help that you need or the treatment that you need. It's the same thing with therapy. It's one of those things where like if you withhold information, then you're not helping yourself. So the best advice that I can give to anybody that's searching for any type of mental health therapy, it's to be completely honest and transparent in order to get the most out of your therapy sessions.
Thank you for sharing that, Mia. I had another question. How do you feel that your time in outpatient services, how has that served you in your life?
I'm at a point where like I came into treatment. I came into THP because I was one of their resources was helping with housing. But I ended up not needing their assistance anymore. I ended up getting married, and I live with my husband now. So I no longer need to. I didn't really need to do outpatient anymore. But it's one of those things where, like, even though I'm not required to do outpatient anymore, I choose to do outpatient anymore because it helps me give me structure in my life. It helps me keep myself accountable. It helps me keep me on top of my recovery.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, I feel like even though I'm not required to be there, it's one of those things where, like, I get to be there. I have the opportunity to be there, and also it helps me stay connected with the people, the great, beautiful people that I've met in those houses and in outpatient treatment.
Absolutely. And in outpatient, you were required to do groups, right? You had a case manager. How was your experience with our case managers and with groups?
I think my case manager is the best. I mean, I love all of them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking bad about any of them.
Please.
I love all of them.
Please.
But my case manager is one of the few people that it's from the moment I got there. It was like an instant, like, okay, this is a person that I want to trust. This is a person that I feel comfortable sharing things with. This is a person that I can bounce ideas off of, and they have input that I actually care about.
Well, that's really great to hear, and that's what we want to hear. We want to hear that your experience with Tarzana is one that is going to serve you not only for today, but in the long run, right? And how are the groups that, I know that many times coming in, it's a lot of groups and you feel like overwhelmed, but how did you feel like joining our groups of educational groups?
I didn't really mind the groups. I like I said, I for so many years of my life, I lived without structure. That the fact that they started, so I did outpatient at Central, and then I went to for the first 5 months. Until there was a bed available at THP. So by the time I got to THP, I already had, I think, 9 months. And at Central, I was already down to one group a week. And then I go to THP, and then they tell me, well, you have to do eight groups. And I think the response that they got from me was a completely opposite of what they thought, because they thought I was gonna freak out. And I was like, okay. It's one of those things where, like, if you like the life that you're living, and if there's steps that you can take into making sure you maintain that life, they may feel daunting, and it may be like something that you might dread a lot. But at the end of the day, it's for your own benefit. And I didn't really mind, like, integrating myself back into, like, having groups again.
And while during your time now in Tarzana in the past, has there been specific programs or staff members that you feel understood you and supported you? And if there are, is there any guidance that you can give anybody watching this on what would be beneficial for them during the program?
I honestly, every single person that I've met at Tarzana Treatment Center has been very understanding of me as a woman, of me as an addict, of me as a person. So sometimes I feel like, and I've experienced this where, like, I've seen other patients that come from different background, where, like, maybe there's a lack of trust. But honestly, even if they're telling you no for any reason, you might not understand it, and you might not see the big reason behind it. But there's times where, like, sometimes they will say no to you to protect you, not because they want to annoy you, or because they want to keep you, because they want to feel like they're above you, or like they have any power over you. It's none of that. It's not that type of mentality. It's more like, we want to protect you from doing something that could potentially harm you, and they're doing it in their best interest. It's not one of those things where, like, oh, I'm gonna say no because I want to say no. It's one of those things where, like, I'm gonna say no because I've seen what happens if I say yes.
Absolutely. And it's, thank you for sharing all that, because I think oftentimes we have a perception of treatment, and it sounds like you've had such a great experience with Tarzana and have received a lot of support in your journey, right? And not only with Tarzana, you also mentioned Cry Help being a pivotal point as well, and getting that connection to us, right? And one of the great things that we do here is that we do work with other community healthcares and so in other treatment centers in order to facilitate treatment to all, right? And that's been a really great contribution to our success, is continuing to serve the client's needs and upholding our values at Tarzana by serving our community. So I really want to thank you, Mia, for your time and your everything you shared with us today. I hope it resonates with someone watching today, and really thank you for your time and
No, it's
everything.
an honor, honestly. It was one of those things where, like I said, I didn't have to say yes. I wanted to say yes.
Yeah.
And it's an honor, it's a blessing, and thank you for listening to me. I hope you get out of anything that I said. I hope that you can find confidence within yourself to know that you can do this, because it can be done. I used to think I did drugs for most of my childhood. I did alcohol for most of my childhood. I did meth for most of my adulthood, and I never thought that I would. I got to a point where I thought there's no point in me quitting, and in retrospective, after now I think I'm 17 months. I'm going on 18 months sober now, sober and clean.
Right, yay.
After 8 months, I in retrospect, there is so much more you can do for your life. So if you get anything out of this, I'm just here to share my message.
Your message is well received, Mia. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you all received something. Thank you for joining us all today on today's segment. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
Brought to you by Tarzana Treatment Centers. You can visit our website at www.tarzanatc.org or call 1-800-996-1051.